Hello there, this is Rom Wills, back at you with yet another podcast. The Real Deal with Naturals. Now, for those in the whole dating advice, coaching, PUA, whatever type of community, right? All of it's one big thing, regardless of whatever semantics you're using, macking, whatever you want to call it. There's always this thing about naturals. And the thing is, the natural is supposed to be the man who's just natural at picking up women or dating women or betting a lot of women, whatever you're saying, right? But here's the problem. There's no such thing as a natural. Now, at best, somebody might have maybe some genetic, I don't even know, some genetic things that might predispose a woman to coming on to them, right? In the black community, it could be height, it could be complexion, grade of hair, eye color. I'm not even sure what it is in other communities. But, if you have these things, women going to be predisposed to coming on to you, right? And I've seen it. It's like that real cute baby or something, or that cute little kid, or the popular kid, or whatever. And people will call them a natural. They're really not. Let me use I love using a basketball analogy, especially since college basketball season is coming up. I don't pay attention to the pros until around the NBA finals. But college basketball season is coming up. Now, it's like the analogy of someone who's 7 feet tall, right? They grow real tall. They don't necessarily make the best basketball players or great basketball players. Ever since high school, I've seen real tall guys riding the bench and not getting any run. The only thing they bring to the table is they're tall. And they might be able to get on a college practice team or, deep bench on a college team or something, with a coach who has an extra scholarship and might want to work with them, right? But, in high school, they might just make the team for their height and still not play that much. And people will say, well, he's so tall, he should be a natural. No. The real thing is that basketball player still has to learn the skills. Now, what people call the natural is really just somebody who's learned the skills to the point where it's instinctual. But here's the key thing. They still had to learn the skills. However they interact with women, they had to learn the skills. There was a first time they had to approach a woman. There was a first time they had to go in for a kiss for a woman. There's a first time where they got rejected by a woman. Every single part of them, if you break down any man who, however he gets women, he had to do something. If a man is getting a woman through his looks, right? And that's just his facial features. I would say like a pretty boy type or something, right? He still had to learn how to use that to his advantage. He still had to play it off because sometimes if a guy looks too good and he's approaching women or he's looking too eager, women get turned off. Or if he talks and nonsense comes out of his mouth or he can't hold a decent conversation, he turns off women. So he had to learn, even though he might have had a good bait to draw women over, he still had to learn how to talk to her. And he still had to learn how to maximize that bait, right? If you get a guy who's real muscular, right, that's how he's drawing the women, right? Good height, muscles and stuff, and because women go crazy over bodies. He still, even before he learns how to maximize that, he had to go in the gym and start lifting or doing push-ups or something. He still had to do some work. He still had to build that up. Now, if he was a natural, he would have been born muscular. He would have been born cut, but, at best, a child is born with a predisposition towards it, but they still have to come through it. There's some out of shape people out there. If they just stepped in the gym, their bodies would transform in a few months. But they still have to step in the gym. So you can't say, well, he's just a natural. No, he had to put in hours of work in the gym. Or say if somebody's style is talking to a woman, like they have a crisp mouthpiece, they still had to talk to that first woman. They still had to learn nuances. They still had to have times when they might have been nervous or not know what to say. Even if they quick-witted, there were still times when they probably were awkward or something. They had to learn. They had to develop the skill. Or if it's somebody whose style, they have a nice dress style. They know how to hook up their clothes, cologne. They know how to cut their hair right. They had to figure out how to do it. They had to figure out, hey, this haircut draws more women than this other haircut. These shoes or this color combination draws the attention of women more so than this other one. And then even with that, they probably still had to do a lot more. See, the real deal with naturals they just people who, every single natural, every person that you would label as a natural is just somebody who did something to the point that is instinctual. Now, here's the thing. Because some people, I've read some stuff and people say, well, naturals can never explain to you how they did what they did. That's because they didn't learn it the same way. Understand, people have to, a lot of guys don't seem to get one thing. And that's because a lot of these guys don't go out. Most men who learn the game just learn it just living, trial and error. So when you're doing it like that, you just figure it out. You don't go on the internet. A lot of guys don't read anything on the internet. A lot of guys, especially a lot of womanizers, they don't watch any of these videos. I've talked to them, When I talked to a guy I knew to be a womanizer one time, and I was talking about red pill and this whole alpha male, beta male stuff, he just looked at me and said, really? They doing all that? As he was about to go out with yet another woman. Yet he was macking out on a woman. He was like, oh, okay. He stopped talking with me, went up and finessed this young girl, right? Most of the guys, they just learn. They learn from their mistakes. They figure, they get out here, they talk to a woman, they figure out, okay, this approach works, this one doesn't. And it gets to the point where it's natural. Like if you talk to some basketball players who, some pro players who might have been playing since I don't even know how old they start them, 3, 4. I know in soccer, as soon as they can walk good, right? They wouldn't be able to tell you anything because it's as natural as walking. It's like riding a bike. I'm willing to bet if somebody said, explain the mechanics of riding a bike, people would be like, well, they'll probably just say something like, you just get on and ride. Because nobody thinks about what you learn how to ride, you ride. Right? Well, it's the same thing with naturals. But whatever the case, they still had to learn it. Nobody comes out the womb just macking women. Well, except for this old story I heard when I was little about Dolomite. But we won't go there, right? But no, what's natural is they just develop themselves to that point. Now, that's what I'm saying most. But then, okay, now we have a situation where you have several people on the internet and, YouTube telling y'all how to get women. Even then, you still have to do the work, and you can get to the point where it's instinctual. Or you can actually work to the point where you look like you're the natural. And that's just how it works. So, anyway, that's the real deal about that. That's all I got for y'all today. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace and many, 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 many blessings.